This is SoulCharge, the podcast for women leaders to take the highest level of ownership of their power to create results now. I'm your host, Stacy B. Let's dive in. Business was never built for women. It was built by men. It was designed by men and didn't ever truly take our gifts, our energy, or our biology in mind. This episode is all about the key you've been missing to harness your power, harness your identity, and to come home to yourself. As women for so long, we have felt wrong or off or had to lean into the standards of business and leadership that has been designed by men. And when we've leaned in, we've been faced with burnout, exhaustion, and that we don't fit in. This episode is the answer as to why that has happened and what the solution is. Because ladies, it's time to rise. And it is time to take ownership of the fact that you've been missing your manual. And SoulCharge is the manual to your power. Let's be real, ladies. Like, the way in which this world has been built was not necessarily taking us into consideration. And I want to be very clear as I start this episode. There are many people that take a stand for feminism and girl power in a way that isn't the lane I'm here to fill. The point that I want to make very clear on this episode is that the way in which business and leadership has been designed was without women in mind. And it's not because of the men. In other words, I'm not here to blame the men. I'm not here to blame the system. What I'm here to say is that it's our time to change it. It's our time to understand what the tools are available to us and to understand what's been happening. We have to recognize that the truth of the matter is where we have come from as women. The world was not designed with us in mind, period, full stop. It's not anyone's fault. It's the level of consciousness that everyone was operating at was not pro women. That's just what the truth is. And so instead of making anyone wrong, instead of blaming the system or the men, SoulCharge is here with a solution. SoulCharge is the solution for women to understand what has really been going on. For so long, there has been this gap, and I know that you've felt this. I know that you can understand what I'm saying and resonate with what I'm saying. When we go into business and when we go into leadership, when we're leading our teams, when we're playing at a very high level, the way in which we have been conditioned and taught to play at has caused a significant gap and has caused us significant stress, to the point where the percentage of women that build successful companies and then burn out is staggering compared to men that have the same path. What that tells us and what that reveals is that there is a major gap. And the gap is that you have not been taught how to use your power or how to lean into the innate ability that is sacred and so powerful that women and women alone are meant to lean into. We have been conditioned and taught to run like men, work like men, and build businesses like men. So hello, of course we're going to feel burnt out. Of course we're going to be struggling after time. Of course we'll be able to put our heads down for a period of time and push and build until the misalignment is looking us so straight in the face that we can't miss it anymore. Our bodies are breaking down. Our hormones are out of whack. The way in which we have defined success is not our truth, and it's time for our reclamation. My intention with this episode is that you feel this in your bones. You feel this in your cells. You feel this in every follicle of the hair on your body. That this episode awakens in you the truth of what's been happening. Because to call it what it is that for so long we have felt that we're wrong. Something is wrong with us. So what do? We play small. We push harder. We build a different business. We look at a different team. We mix and match and move the furniture in the room to so many different positions until we have nowhere else to turn except our two eyes and our soul looking in the mirror. And there comes a day where it feels like in the midst of your success as a woman, you're having a fucking identity crisis and you can't figure out why. Nothing adds up. Everything externally looks like you should be happy. But the truth of the matter is that part of why you're not happy is because you are building success from a broken model. And it's broken because it was never yours. It was never mine. And it was built for men and by men. And again, that's not making anyone wrong. It's about rolling out your true manual because you simply didn't know a different way. And I want to harp on this as we start this episode because too often, as we're building the business and as we're going forward in our leadership, we hit these walls and we don't understand why. And there isn't anyone that's talking about this in this way. And so we feel lost. We feel like we're having an identity crisis. And all that we need is someone to give words to how we're feeling for us to understand what is the path forward? What is the solve? How do we be in our own truth in how we lead? How do we lean into our biology as women? How do we lean into the natural functions of our body? How do we lean into the truth that pushing and burnout and 5 a.m. starts and like pushing and working out at 3 a.m. or whatever is going on with the bros in the business world is not how we're supposed to do it. So I just want you to hear that because there is freedom when someone calls out the truth. As women, we can just stop carrying this burden that was never ours to carry, which is the way we've been taught to build business and leadership is not our model. Hallelujah, baby. We get to lean into what our model really looks like. And so the thing that I want to say to you, and I want you to hear, is that when in anything, when you are trying to be like someone else, or you're trying to try on someone else's strategy, or you're trying to do something where someone else has been successful in the past, you're coming from a place of fragmentation, right? You're coming from what you've been doing, the way you've been leading, the way you've been building the business. Something feels off. And that's the gap, right? Is like when we're trying to follow someone else's lead, when that someone else biologically is different, when that someone else's form of nurturing is completely opposite, when men's brains work differently than women's brains, like our actual brains are designed differently. The way that we mother a child, if we could bring that fierce love and passion into the business, instead of trying to package it in a certain way from a man's perspective, that shift alone is gold. And that's what we're going to talk about today is what does it actually feel like and look like to lead from the blueprint of being a woman, right? But more than that, what is the manual for us to move forward? Because the truth is that we reach a point where our identity is changing, right? Like we go into business sometimes before kids and then we have kids and our priorities change and that's a whole thing. And then other times we go into business already having the kids, there's different drivers and then the kids leave and then there's this empty nester chapter and that's all sorts of confusing. And so that's really like the first call out is as women, we have a different identity path and evolution. Obviously, like as I'm saying this, I can see your face. I can see your face going, Stacy, this is so obvious. I've just never thought of it before in this way. And that's exactly why I am here to put it to you this way. But if you look at our evolution as females, completely different than men. Why aren't we bringing that into business? Because here's the thing, when we stop making ourselves wrong and we stop trying to be like men in business, we get to harness our true power. And guess what? The future of leadership in business absolutely requires that women are driving this forward. The leadership models of the past, the way that this world has been built, has been by men, and it's lopsided and it's out of whack. And it is up to us as women to come together. This is not, as I've said multiple times, about making anyone wrong. And I think that's the magic of this episode. The way this world has been built with men and how we've gotten to the point that we are at, we couldn't have done it. We couldn't have come to this awakening as women and said, there is a different way for us. And when we can come together with the male side of leadership and the new operating system for women leaders, and we start to put the magic together, exponential growth, alignment in our growth, happiness and fulfillment in our growth. And more than anything, this world evolving consciously by the nurturers and the powerful women that are ushering consciousness to its next level. Just like the mother ushers the baby through the key developmental years and sees that baby to ensure these key milestones are met, that is what the world is demanding from us as women. And we have to step up in our power, but we've been missing the way to do that. We've been unaware of how do we shift without breaking everything down. And this is what this is about. The thing that you have to know is that on some level, the best way to think about this is that we have been using tools that are borrowed, right? We have been using tools to build business and leadership on borrowed systems, ideas, and framework that have worked for us. You are successful. You have built what you've built. And you're also feeling misaligned in the process. You're also feeling your biology changing. So let's talk about that, right? It's like if we look at the transitions of our identity over our life, even like midlife as women, combined in that time of what can be super confusing, super defeating, and super disempowering, our bodies are also drastically changing. Drastically. And the cause of this obviously is us and our evolution, but the impact is that if we are changing, our hormones are changing, our bodies are changing, our biology is shifting. That shows up as a change of desire, a change in performance. It shows up as not being the rock star that you once knew yourself as in business. And what that does is impacts your competitive edge. And so not only is your identity shifting, your body is changing and you have no idea what the hell is going on. And also, no one has taught you how to be. You have been told your whole life that you need to be different than you are. So you're working off a borrowed system. Your identity is super confused and your body is essentially betraying you. This is all of what's happening and why our power is like this volcano rumbling about to erupt. And you may feel this, you may feel it, and you're like, oh my God, like I feel like I could blow up at someone. I could cut someone off, be enraged in traffic, like qualities and behaviors that you would never, ever see yourself exuding. This is what's going on. And by me bringing this to your attention, I can feel your energy already. I can feel you listening to this episode and going, oh my God, praise God. I have a sigh of relief. I feel what Stacy is saying, and there is a comfort in knowing I am not alone. You're not alone. You are not alone. This is happening for every woman, business owner, and leader in real time right now, whether they know it or not. And again, it is my intention with this episode to bring the thief in the night into the light so that this stops stealing your power, your energy, and your identity, because we need you. We need these pillars from you to take and usher our world forward, not just your micro world that is your family and your business and your community, but it is imperative that we have you at the seat, at the table of women leaders driving this forward and knowing that you get to harness this now. You get to tap into this now. And it's no longer your weakness. It is your superpower. Your feelings and you being so intuitive is now your superpower, not your weakness. Your feelings are not a sign of weakness, but a sign of pure grace going through you with the power of your intuition. Your ability to communicate, care, integrate, and have such a deep level of compassion are no longer soft skills. They are actually strategic moves to build a connected and conscious workplace for the future. Your energy and rest and using a strategic way to rest and use self care is not a way to feel guilty because you're taking a break. It is actually the next best business strategy for you to fill up your cup and seize the day forward. So I want you to think of these three buckets as you continue to listen to this episode. We're talking about identity, we're talking about your energy, which energy, I want you to think it's not just like mind, right? I'm talking mind, body, spirit. I'm talking about, yes, your biology, but I'm talking about like when you are thinking about how you feel, right? Your level of energy. I'm not talking just about like how good you feel every day. I'm talking about that your entire body system is working together instead of working against each other. When we have hormone fluctuations, when our bodies are changing and we don't know what's going on and we keep pushing through because that's what we've been taught, it's not only that we're struggling energetically, it's also that we have a whole other emotional and mental situation that develops, which is a form of self betrayal. Every time you push, every time that you reaffirm and declare that even though you feel like shit, you're going to push through anyway, every time you do that, you are committing to self betrayal between you and you. This is such a bigger picture than, oh, I want to feel good, or, like what your habit stack routine is every day. This is required. You have to take ownership that your number one priority is that your identity is aligned. In other words, you're not moving through the world in fragmentation with limitations and carrying the rocks in your backpack that you've always carried. So you need to check yourself there. The second piece is biologically, what's going on with you? Like, are you experiencing brain fog? You feel off. You feel like the way you used to rock and roll like isn't working anymore. There's probably hormonal stuff going on, but you're probably running on an expired operating system. You're probably trying to push like a man would push. And I want to call this out because it's when we can bring our attention to the truth that we can set ourselves free and simply open ourselves up to a different way. That is the intention of this episode, is not to give you a 5-step framework of how to be soul charged going forward, but actually to bring your attention to what's been happening. Because when we do that with you, what you actually get is you experience an awakening. When you see the truth, you experience a little bit of a crack, right? And what's the saying? When there's a crack, that's when the light can come in. And that's what I am saying to you today, is that the why you feel burnt out, why you feel fragmented, why it has felt off is because the system that you have been standing upon isn't yours. How freeing to put words to what has been going on. How freeing is it to stop denying how we want to lead? How freeing is it that we as women no longer have to experience burnout, fragmentation, feeling literally off in our own life that we've built? How freeing is it to know that there is another way? And that is the intent of this episode, is to call you out so that we can call you up. And that is the whole thing. That is the shift, is when we can start to prioritize these things in our lives, we can actually get aligned with the true operating system, which is prioritizing how we naturally function as women, which is prioritizing rest and connection with ourselves and harnessing how to use our intuition. It is bringing in intuition into our leadership. It is leaning into how we feel. Now, It's very easy to let how we feel drive. That's not what I'm saying. But what I'm saying is right now, you probably are not allowing yourself to feel how you want to feel. And you may be in a situation that you feel stuck. And I can guarantee you one quick tool is, are you letting yourself feel how you really feel? Your body, your soul, your mind has given you information, has given you intuitive nudges, and you likely haven't listened. As an example, this is why you feel off, is because you prioritize what we've been taught is normal in life and business over your knowing. And that is an example of how you can quickly shift from fragmentation to connection. We need you, I need you to be connected to yourself. When you're connected with yourself, your leadership, business results, and the enjoyment and fulfillment of your business is completely different. The last thing that I will say to wrap up this episode is that you are not alone. Business was built for a different driver. It wasn't built for women by women. And that ends now. There is a different way, a way where you get to bring all of yourself to the table, a way where you don't deny your truth anymore, a way where you get to ensure that you feel amazing as you are working to build the empire and the vision that is yours and yours alone. The future of leadership cannot be built without us. So it is high time, and it is our time to lean into this new day, this new operating system that supports us and actually gives us as women the manual to our power. You see, part of why, like, imagine your power is dimmed down and look how powerful you are. Imagine if you had the way to harness your power unapologetically in full freedom, how good that would feel. You don't have to continue to be like them or push forward like them, but you actually get to relax into your God given gifts and power and deploy that as truth and as sovereignty. Are you loving SoulCharge? If so, hit the subscribe button, leave a review, and share an episode. We want to bring powerful content to women leaders each week so that women can be unleashed to create the results that they want now. Thanks so much for listening, and we'll see you next week.